All right, my friends, how are you today? Aaron here bringing you some astrology for the new moon happening on the 24th of January. The new moon's going to happen at 4:41 p.m., all right, Eastern Standard Time, and that's going to happen in the sign of Aquarius at 4 degrees 21 space minutes. Let me show you the chart to show you exactly what that looks like. All right, so there is the sun and the moon conjunction. New moons are new beginnings, right? This new moon is going to create a septile, that fate-like energy to Mars here, our planet of action, drive, and passion here in Sagittarius, as well Mars is creating a sextile to Mercury there in Aquarius. This new moon is also creating a square to Uranus in Taurus. Okay, Uranus is the sign or the planet associated with the sign of Aquarius. Okay, the breakthroughs, and there's also, you see here, a quincunx, a 5/12 aspect happening down here to the North Node in Cancer. Now, before I explain exactly a little bit deeper of what all this means, okay, putting this story together, this is a classic David and Goliath. Okay. So for those who don't know the story of David and Goliath, I'm just going to break it down very, very quickly, all right? Goliath is this big tyrant. Now we can take this and bring it into any analogy that you want or metaphor that you want that's going to fit and make sense in your life, okay? So Goliath is the giant, the tyrant that is taking over the town, you know? All these people are working hard. The community, Aquarius, is working hard, right? You know, producing their products, their grains, their food, their water, their wood, their money, their source of income, all right? And then here comes this giant, this tyrant that just bullies everybody, takes what he wants, because he's the big, you know, Capricorn, the big government, the big, you know, the big entity that no giant brawny man, you know, or woman in the village could take down Goliath, okay? Now, here's little David. Just a wee lad, right? So here's little David, okay? Now, sometimes in life, the villains need to appear. The villains need to exist for the heroes to know and find out that they're heroes, okay? So little David here sees a vision for the future that does not involve Goliath, this big business, this bigger authority taking over and abusing and misusing his village, okay? You see how this is tying in already? So this big business, we've got Capricorn, Pluto, Saturn conjunction happening in Capricorn, Jupiter in Capricorn, okay? So we've got transformation, we've got transformation of government, we've got more structure, you know, creating structure and change at the same time. Jupiter's saying more, right? And Jupiter's forming this still, well, it's not quite a trine anymore, but Uranus. Uranus is the breakthrough planet, the great awakener in the zodiac. You know, it's the lightning strike. And Aquarius itself is the water within the air that allows the electricity to flow. It's the community, the visionary sign. Okay? So we have this square happening from this new moon, this conjunction, down to Uranus. In the traditional old habits, old methods. We've walked this path for 1,000,000 years, and that's why we're going to continue to walk this same path. And it's just like, you know, Goliath has come every single week at this time, and he takes the bread, and he takes the water, and he takes what he wants. That's just the way it is, son. Not today, not anymore. You know? Now, what's important here is to understand in this is that there wasn't, you know, as far as the story I know goes, there wasn't a group of young kids that said, David, you should go take down Goliath. No elders came to David and said, listen here, little one, I think you're going to be the hero of this story. I think you're going to be the one that takes down that tyrant. It didn't happen that way, right? It was internal, the story of David and Goliath. This was an internal thing that said, no, I'm not going to live like this. This is not a sustainable future for me and my community, Aquarius, okay? I see a vision for a different way to live that doesn't involve this tyrant taking and abusing and misusing our people and our resources, okay? So I don't, you know, so it's just like the fire, the sun, The moon, emotional need, rose up. Okay? And little David now takes his stone in a little leather strap or whatever it is and puts the stone in there and whips it at the giant Goliath, and down comes the giant. Now, again, what's important about this story is not just the fact that someone small can take over something mighty. Okay? That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, again, you know, we've got places like Amazon and these huge businesses that just swallow up little mom and pop shops. They can't keep up, you know. And like we talked about in the Saturn-Pluto conjunction video just over a week and a half ago, that every dollar is a vote. Now, I've personally bought stuff off of Amazon. And then I've looked for other sites, these small mom and pop shops, and I've found the price is actually cheaper at the mom and pop shops than I did Amazon. But Amazon is, well, they've got everything. You can buy a lawnmower, a fridge, and a Peruvian rattle, all in one quick, you know, it's just like, yeah, there's a convenience. You know, Bezos also made $243 million per day from January of 2019 to March of 2019. So for 4 months, might have been, you know, April. But either way, that's out there in the world. That exists. You know, we're not saying that he's a bad person or Amazon's a bad company. But again, each dollar is a vote. Each, you know, are we just continuing to give our money? Are we just continuing to vote? Yeah, Goliath, here, come take it. It's yours. Or do we work up the courage in ourselves to try to do something differently? Yeah? I think that's the better way to go. I think you do too. Now, there's a bit more with this new moon, you know, squaring to Uranus. Again, not just breaking change, but reminding ourselves in all of this that it wasn't an outside source, okay, that said, you should do this. I believe in you. I believe in you. I think you're going to be the one to do this. No, that's an internal. It's internal, okay? Now, Aquarius is the director and the star of, is the director. You know, the sun, Leo energy, is the star of the show, and every star of the show needs a director. Okay, so this director role over here that we're taking in the sign of Aquarius, this new moon, you know, so it's just like we are the star and we are the, it's like, you know, that kind of Dick Tracy thing, you know, Warren Beatty playing Dick Tracy. He's directing the whole film, and he says, you, Al Pacino, I want you as this. If you've ever seen Dick Tracy, I don't know why that's just popping in my head. But either way, it's just like, you know, I have a vision for this film, for this movie, for this concept, for this idea. I have a vision for this, you know, sports team. I have a vision for the play. I have a vision for this painting or whatever it is, or you know, and I want all these pieces to come together, right? And you are going to be the star of this, or you are going to be, you know, the supporting role, and you are going to be the perfect bad guy in this story, or you're the perfect hero of the story, or you're the perfect lighting technician, and you're the perfect sound person, and you're the perfect, you know, and we're going to do it in this theater. So it's just like it's having a vision of what's going on in our lives. Now, Mars is over here driving force. The septile is saying, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm driving passionately forward. I'm seeking out knowledge. I'm seeking out the individuals that, like this David and Goliath story, I'm seeking out these individuals that are inspiring me to continue to go, that are giving me strength, that are inspiring me and empowering me to be the best person I can be in this journey of the unknown. You know, it's like I have a vague idea of pretty good idea of the things I want to accomplish in my life. Now, there is a huge gap between what I see that I want to accomplish, where I am now, and there's a giant gas cloud of the mystery of the unknown. I have no idea. You know, I do not see the stairs to get to where I'm going, but I'm trusting each and every step, right? And as well, this connection down here to the North Node, in Cancer, this quincunx, it's that annoying aspect. The quincunx is in the sesqui-squares, right? Because the square, we can see that tension. We have to be the revolutionary free thinkers in Aquarius. You know, we're in the age of Aquarius now. The age of Pisces still has its grips on our country as Americans and the world at large, you know. The age of Pisces is still very relevant. All right. Now, just like the olden days, going from, the pagan gods of Odin and all this, like to take in the Piscean age and the new ways of religion and these new concepts, people didn't want to let go of the old gods. And just the same as there's like, what fit 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago no longer fits in the age of Aquarius. And that golden calf, has to be destroyed in a sense. That golden calf is Taurus. Taurus, the bull, has to be destroyed in order to embrace this new age, this new era. So we are stepping out. We are stepping out on the leading edge. We are the ones creating this great change. And we have to be the ones that have a vision for the future. We might not know exactly how we're going to get there, what steps we're going to take, but as long as we keep going, and that is the epitome of 2020, is to just keep going. All this Capricorn energy, we're going to get to the top of the mountain. There's nothing that stops that mountain goat from getting to the top of the mountain. So we're believing in ourselves, believing in our journey, looking to the people who have inspired us, who have done this. It's just like, well, once one person climbed Mount Everest, it was just like, oh, that's accomplishable. That's doable. And now I can do it as well. Or I can prepare myself to do it, because we can look at somebody else and say they died climbing Mount Everest. They didn't have enough water, or they didn't have enough stamina, or they didn't train enough, So we don't want to put ourselves in that boat. We're the goats right now, This is the year of the goat in a sense. Jupiter's up in Capricorn, so it's just like, to be the greatest of all time, the GOAT, or the greatest of all time in our own lives, we have to step into that role and be the visionary leaders that are willing to break the wheel that exists right now and to create a brand new one. And this wheel is broken. Our government is broken. There are things that work. There are things that certainly work, but it needs to be reassessed. It needs to be relooked at. And we are the ones that have to step up into this, and it's day by day, thinking globally and acting locally. Well, what can I do on a small scale before I get to the next larger scale? What can I do, taking this step before this step? Again, 2020 is the year of like incremental. As long as we keep going, day by day, little meditation here, a little yoga here, exercise here. By taking these small steps, we're going to look back from January, from December back to January and say, oh my God, my whole life has changed. My diet has changed, my physical, it's just like how we govern ourselves during this year is incredibly important. How we govern our own bodies and our minds, right? And Aquarius is the mind and the social abilities. So it's just like there are people around us that are going to help aid us in this journey. It's not a solo journey by any means. But it's up to us, because it's not, you're not beautiful when somebody else recognizes your beauty. You're beautiful. So it's like you don't need the outside source coming in to say, hey, it's time for great change. Hey, here's a vision for you. Hey, this is your life on this chalkboard, and this is what you need to do. No, it's internal. This David and Goliath thing, it's just like, I'm a young person. I feel that this has to change. And that's another part of this. At 4 degrees of Aquarius, this energy is about that young person stepping up into the role of a leader, right? So we might be holding back and saying, well, I'm not as great as Alan Watts. You know what I mean? I'm not as great as a speaker or a philosopher as Alan Watts. So maybe I shouldn't have started my channel, a year ago. And it's just like, no, that's silly to think, it's like, yeah, is Alan Watts an amazing philosopher and speaker, well-known? Yeah, absolutely. The guy's a vat of knowledge that's beautiful. Or I'm not as great as my mentor, Rick Levine. It's just like, yeah, and Rick is an amazing wizard at astrology, but it's just like, but then there's me, there's my sense of self, there's my interpretation of this, so there's your sense, your interpretation of life, and it's like you stepping up into that David role of saying, yeah, I can. It doesn't matter if there's an adult that's bigger than me, that knows more than me, that's telling me to not do this, that I can't win. It's like, no, I have a role to play in my life, you have a role to play in your life, and it's so important right now for this new beginning, to step up, to step into that role. And again, we don't know how windy the road is going to be. We don't know if we're going to be going up or down to get up. You know what I mean? It's a mystery in how we're getting to where we're going. But as long as we have our mind set on that future, you know, and in the present, we take a day by day, one foot in front of another approach, and continuously, incrementally grow for our own expansion. And again, how we govern ourselves is the key to this year, is the key to this new moon. As well, we still have Pluto and Saturn creating that septile over to Neptune, right? So Saturn and Pluto, this is the change of how we govern ourselves, the change of our physical world, the change of our physical reality. You know, we're never going to see this again. Our great-great-great-grandkids will never see Neptune septile Saturn and Pluto, Saturn being home in Capricorn ever again. We're talking about the slowest moving planets in the zodiac. You know, this is absolute fate. We are fated. We are destined for this time. We are destined for this moment. We are destined for this encounter of this David and Goliath. We are destined to step up to play the role of David. Because none of you are Goliaths, I know that. You know, maybe we have been in the past, but we're not. You know, no, we're not. We're not the, you know, the tyrants out there. We're the ones that are absorbing and learning and growing with one another. We're the ones that are this community, right? We are the water in the air that allows electricity to flow and creates the aha moment, this glorious aha. So this is coming with this big new moon that's happening on Friday. Again, as always, thank you. Have a happy new moon to you. If you're new to the channel, check it out. Doing this every single day, diving deep into these aspects. Appreciate you so much for hanging out with me. To the Davids in the world, have a happy new moon, my friends.